Hello, everybody, and welcome back to Expert Examiner IELTS. My name is Glyn, and in this video, I'm going to do some more speaking feedback. This time, we're doing feedback on Aziz's speaking test, so let's jump straight into it. Good afternoon. My name is Glyn. Would you please tell me your full name?
Good afternoon, sir. I am Azizur Rahman. You can call me Aziz.
Okay, thank you, Aziz. Just a note, there's no need to call me sir. I know in many people's cultures they feel it's polite. I really dislike it when people call me sir. It feels kind of cold and too formal. Yeah, I just really dislike it when people call me sir. But okay. Now, in this first part of the test, I'm going to ask you some questions about yourself. Do you work or do you study?
I'm studying. Currently, I'm studying at my university, which is called Bajar
Which is called?
National University, as well as I'm taking my IELTS preparation because I would like to continue.
Yeah, that linking is a little bit faulty. As well as I am taking. That's not how we use as well as. We don't use as well as to link two clauses. You can say I'm da 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 da, full stop. I'm da 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 as well. That's fine. Or as well as studying at university, I also da 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 da. But there's a slight misuse of as well as.
My further studies in abroad.
Question was only, do you work or do you study? I study. It's fine. I study. I'm a university student, or I'm studying at university. That's enough. You don't need development there. But okay. What subject are you studying at university?
Yeah, my major is management.
Cool. My major is nice.
Because I love studying this subject, as well as it matched with my previous.
Again, candidate misuses as well as.
Yes. Subjects. In my college, I have studied in business studies. So there I got many subjects like management, accounting, finance. So I think this is the best choice for me to study at university with management subject.
Okay, with management subject, okay, not bad. With the subject of management is probably a little bit better. But okay. And would you like to work in this field when you finish studying?
Yes, of course. I'm planning to become an entrepreneur.
Cool, like this. I'm planning. Very nice. I'm planning to become an entrepreneur. Pronunciation is a little bit staccato. Yes, of course. I'm planning to become an entrepreneur. Just listen again, just a little bit, not very connected.
To become an entrepreneur. To become an entrepreneur.
To become an entrepreneur. I'm planning to become an entrepreneur. It's not massively connected, but okay.
In the future, because after studying this subject, I will have the essential information about business because it's all about business. So I will have the chance to know how everything works.
To know how everything works. Candidates' V's sometimes sound a bit like a B, everything. And of course, we need that everything works instead of everything work. Now, again, that mistake doesn't stop me from understanding, but it is in the English language that we have this conjugated verb. I work, you work, he works, she works, it works, everything works. Again, who does it stop me from understanding? No. Is it a mistake? Yes. Is it a mistake with a basic bit of grammar? Yeah.
Everything works like the marketing.
Oh, when he repeated it, he got it right.
Strategy, sales, as well as customer behavior, how to
okay, this is where as well as works. And customer behavior, really nice.
convince customer. So that is going to help me.
Cool. I like that answer. I think that's, quite well developed, maybe a little bit long, but clear and well developed and good vocab. Let's talk about your weekends now. What do you usually do at the weekend?
To be honest, I do some things on the weekend.
Yeah, it's not a good start. To be honest, I do some things on the weekend. Just tell me what you do at the weekend, right? There's no need for a to be honest here. To be honest, we use very often, before things that maybe the listener doesn't want to hear, or maybe you use it for things that you feel guilty about. To be honest, I spend most of my weekends lying in bed, eating Cheetos, and watching sport. To be honest, that's how we use to be honest. You can't, a lot of people think they can just use to be honest at the beginning of a sentence it's what we call padding, just to think of ideas. But I don't know if it's appropriately used here. And I do a lot of things. Just tell me what I usually at the weekend and then add a bit of extra information.
Mostly I hang out with my friends.
Mostly I hang out with my friends. Candidate is reaching. I hang out. No, great. Hang out with my friends. Wonderful. Pronunciation not quite chunked together. And it is noticeable that that vocab isn't immediately accessible. I hang out. You can almost see that the candidate is thinking what comes after hang out, what comes after out with my friends. So my friends is chunked well together, but hang out with not so much.
Because when I get weekend, I am free to delete from my studies.
When I get a weekend, when I have a weekend, I'm free to delete. What was that?
Because when I get weekend, I am free to delete.
I'm free to delete. I don't know what delete means. Pronunciation problem there.
From my studies, because I sometimes get rid of my studies to take the advantages of nature.
Again, I'm not sure what's being said.
Is to take the advantages.
Let's go back.
Is to take.
Sorry.
Because when I get weekend,
when I get weekend, I'm
free to delete.
I'm free to delete. Don't know.
From my studies.
From my studies.
Because I sometimes get.
Because I sometimes get
rid of my studies to
get rid of my studies to
take the advantage.
To take the advantages
of nature.
Of nature. I don't know what the idea is here, but it's unnecessarily complex, right? What do you do at the weekend? I usually hang out with my friends at the weekend. Sometimes we go to a cafe, and sometimes we just go for a walk. I don't know why we need this delete, get rid of my studies to take advantages of nature. Nice, simple, clear, easy to understand ideas. That's always going to be the foundation of a good speaker in the IELTS test, is that you have a simple, easy to understand idea, and of course you can develop after that. But the cornerstone, the central point, that rock, will always be and must always be simple, easy, clear answers that directly answer the question. And when you say things like, to be honest, I do a lot of things at the weekend because if I get a weekend, I can delete my studies and it helps me to take advantages of nature. I'm still thinking, well, what does this guy do at the weekend? Simplify.
And take some pleasant moment from my friends.
Think he's trying to say pleasant, maybe?
Is to take the advantages of nature and take some pleasant moment from my friends.
It's so far away from pleasant, but I think that's what he's saying.
By hanging out with them.
Okay, candidate self-corrects.
So these are the things I do on the weekend.
So we get that wrapping up sentence. These are the things that I do on the weekend. I would, I don't like so much like introductory stuff and conclusive stuff. I don't need like an introduction and a conclusion to every answer in a speaking test. And I often find that candidates often use that type of padding when they lack fluency. Now, I don't think this candidate lacks fluency. Speaking to him, both before and after the test, he's fine. But it's clear that he's in test mode. And like most students, when students go into test mode, they have their usual English and then they have their test mode English. And most candidates think that their test mode English is better than their usual English, and it never is. The usual English is always better, not always, is generally better than the test mode English. The test mode English is weird, it's off topic, it's difficult to follow, you're trying too hard to use a bunch of different language. Yeah, test your when you turn on your test mode, it's going to make your English worse. What did you do last weekend? Again, it's a very simple question. What did you do last weekend? It's asking about the past. Will we get a nice simple answer?
Last weekend, as far as I remember,
As far as I remember, for last weekend, when was the first time you ever ate a banana? Oh, as far as I remember, it was when I was like 3 years old. When did you last, I don't know, when did you last smoke a cigarette? Oh, as far as I remember, it was, I don't know, 10 years ago? That's how we use as far as I remember, not what did you do last week. Oh, as far as I remember. If you have difficulties remembering what you did last weekend, IELTS is not your biggest problem.
I went to Bajar, where some
Okay, I went to Bajar, past simple, great. I went to, good collocation. Bajar. I don't know what Bajar is. Maybe you can explain this.
people gather, and there are many shops there. And I went there with my
Okay, cool.
friends, and I sat there in order to have some coffee with
Cool. I sat there in order to have some coffee. Very nice.
them, and we talked about many things.
But then we talk about many things. And again, when we speak about control of grammar, we don't just mean, candidate can produce past simple once. We mean that the candidate consistently recognizes that this is past time, and so I need to use a variety. When I went there, I sat there, and we talked about, the candidate is like 2 out of 3 or 3 out of 4. 3 out of 4 of the verbs are controlled with past simple, but the fourth one is not quite there. Generally, I would expect, while there can be some slips, even with C1 learners, generally I would expect B2 learners to be able to control basic time. By basic time, I mean present, past, and future. You might not always get the right future time construction. You might use will instead of be going to, or something like this, or you might use like present perfect simple instead of present perfect continuous, or something like that. But I would expect candidates to control the basic present, past, and future. 3 out of 4, not bad.
Mainly about our studies.
And do you prefer to relax or be active during weekends? Again, just pick one. I prefer to relax because da 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 da. Or being active is better for me because da 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 da. Direct answer, development. Will we get that?
I went to. I like mostly to make myself calm.
I like mostly to make myself calm. I guess that means that he prefers to relax at the weekend, but
And to have and enjoy the moment.
And to enjoy the moment. But I'm not, I don't know. Enjoy the moment. You can do that by being active or by being relaxing or by relaxing.
When I'm having the time or free time on the
Again, to get that having instead of the having.
weekend, because the other days I'm talking about weekdays, so they are kind of boring days. Not boring because I'm spending my time with my study.
Yeah, so now we are just drifting slightly off topic, right? So do you prefer to be active or do you prefer to relax? Pick one. I prefer to relax because I like being active because da da da. Now we're like, oh, but during the week it's boring. Well, it's not boring because I have my studies. And so we're just drifting off topic. I understand, there is a natural progression, A to B to C to D, but we always want to keep that question in mind.
And doing other stuff. However, when I get a weekend, I just try to engage myself with some fun activities, which
I try to engage myself with some fun activities. Now, I don't like this. To engage oneself with an activity sounds so odd for me. I mean, it's understandable, but it sounds strange. Wouldn't it be much better, instead of telling me that you like to engage yourself in some fun activity, just tell me what those fun activities are, and if they are activities that help you to relax at home or activities that help you to be active, link that to your answer, right? Oh, I like to do some more active things at the weekend. For example, I love playing football. I'm part of a like five-a-side football team, and we play not every weekend, but at least 2 or 3 times a month. That's detailed and it's clear and it's easy to understand.
make myself pleasant.
Make myself pleasant. I don't know. I like to engage myself in different activities and make myself pleasant. It's a lot of words, but it's not really saying anything.
And gives me the energy.
Let's move on now and talk about films. And it's still not clear if the candidate prefers relaxing or active stuff. Yeah. Cinema. How often do you watch films or movies?
Actually, to be honest, I don't watch any movies.
That's good, Yusuf, to be honest.
I only watch some American dramas on Facebook, because on social media I watch American dramas and some short dramas, not movies.
I've had dramas now 3 times, so just be careful with repetition. Maybe give an example. I like watching American dramas such as da, 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 da.
It's like movie is around 2 hours or 2.5 hours. That is long time for me to watch that.
Okay, candidate is explaining why he doesn't watch movies. Absolutely fine. We're on topic.
Instead, what I do, I only watch
I like this. Instead, what I do, I only nice cleft sentences. Very nice.
some short dramas like 15 or 20 minutes.
But again, I watch short dramas. So candidate needs to repeat, right? Candidate's repeating. He's told me 3 times now that he watches short dramas. I don't need to be told 3 times that you watch short dramas.
That gives me the pleasant moment
Again, we've had pleasant moment now 3 or 4 times in the test.
or pleasant thing what I expected to get by using social media.
And do you have a favorite actor or actress?
Yes, I have one favorite actor who is
And again, notice the pronunciation of favorite. It kind of sounds a bit like favorite with a but, just a little bit.
one favorite.
Favorite. It's not quite coming out as favorite. But it's okay. I still understand it, but it does show that, there are some limitations with the candidate's phonological range. This consonant cluster of a v and a r together, favorite, favorite, that can be difficult for some people to say, and especially
One favorite.
So it becomes one sound like favorite, Brit, Brit. So yeah, a limitation in phonological range, but I can still understand the candidate.
Actor who is singer, I can say, whose name is Justin Bieber.
Good use of whose name is, again, Justin Bieber. Sounds a bit like Beaver or Beaver. I didn't know that Justin Bieber was an actor. I know that he was a singer, and I know a lot of people are worried about him right now. But I never thought that Justin Bieber could be somebody's favorite actor, but maybe that's because I'm old.
So yeah.
All right, thank you. All right, so thoughts on part one. Candidate is responding to the questions, fine. He's developing, he's speaking at length, fine. Sometimes when he develops, he goes a little bit off topic. Sometimes when he develops, he repeats the same kind of idea a few times. The candidate kind of is lacking in a little bit of detail, tells me that he engages himself in pleasant activities and things like this, but specifics. We like specifics. We like details. Pronunciation generally clear with some clear limitations in phonological range. Sometimes chunking is generally appropriate with language that's comfortable, but then when it comes to producing slightly more complex language, candidate's pronunciation slows down a little bit. Yeah, so overall doing a good job. Probably decent in the B2-ish category. I don't think it's good enough for C1, and it's probably not bad enough or it's probably not low enough for B1. So candidate is 5.5, 6.0, or 6.5. Now I just have to make that decision. Where is he in that B2 scale? And, part two and part three will help me to make that decision. So let's have a look what the candidate needs to do in part two. Oh, very, very friendly topic here. Describe a close friend you have. Okay, nice. Lots of vocab to activate here. Lots of good vocab. Not so much grammar that you could activate, but that's okay. Let's see how the candidate does. Can you start speaking now, please?
Yes. So now
Yeah, you don't need to answer yes. Can you start speaking now? That's not like, I would like to know if it's possible for you to start speaking now. It's just a sign, like boop, and then you speak. You don't need to say yes, but okay.
I'm going to talk about my best friend, who
Cool, nice start.
is none other than Saifur.
None other than is like, oh, should I know this person? But I don't know Saifur. And so none other than, it could be hyperbolic. I think it's okay. Maybe it works. Obviously, he thinks Saifur is an important person, none other than Saifur, but maybe slightly misused.
Who is 21 years old, like me. When I got enrolled at my primary school,
When I got enrolled at my primary school, we don't speak like this. This is heightened language. Nobody says got enrolled in my primary school. I mean, it's good collocation to get enrolled in something. It's just not really appropriate.
when I was around
And when we talk about, vocab, and grammar, actually, when we learn this stuff, right, we usually learn the form, how we use it. Now, the form with vocab, you don't need to worry so much about the form, but there can be prefixes and suffixes that can be form based. We think about the function, like in what contexts do we use it, but also the appropriacy of grammar in what situations is it appropriate, is it suitable to use this. Now, appropriacy for vocab is, you should show some awareness of style. I believe that's the wording in the rubric in the band descriptors from IELTS. And so basically we mean like, don't speak in an overly academic way, but also don't swear and don't use like too many bits of slang and things like this. And we want it to be like conversational neutral, and things like I got enrolled in my school, for me, shows kind of a lack of awareness of style, even though it's decent vocab. But you don't need to try, and we see this with candidates so often. They try to heighten their language. They think like, "Ooh, this is the way that I should speak in IELTS because IELTS is like some super high stuff." It's not the case. And I've seen this going around Twitter and Instagram of like real language, like I bought a bag yesterday, and IELTS language, I purchased a container into which I can place a multitude of my items approximately 24 hours ago. And they make it seem like, oh, that's how you should speak at IELTS. I bought a bag yesterday. Great. I purchased a container into which I can place a multitude of items. No, I would mark that down as an inappropriate answer. Yeah.
6 years old. I met him because my mom took me to my primary school
I met him because my mum took me to my primary school. I don't really see that link there.
to get me enrolled in
To get me enrolled. Again, why do we need that to get me enrolled in?
class 1, and where I met Saifur. Also, his mom took him to the school.
Is that relevant that his mum and your mum took him to school? I don't know. Maybe you walked to school together. If that's the case, say it.
That is called Chataihal Primary School.
Okay, the name of the school, maybe it's an additional detail. Is it really relevant? Not really.
So since that day, we have been together and we have been studying. We have completed our
Cool, nice use of present perfect there, right? Since that day, we have been together, we have been studying.
primary school. After completing the primary school, I remember we have made a good friendship.
So after completing school, I remember we made a good friendship, or we actually had a good friendship, or we started a good friendship. not we have made or have started. So, candidate uses present perfect here instead of past simple. Okay.
When we got enrolled in our high
Again, candidate just wants to use this get enrolled, right? And to me, it shows that maybe it's a bit of memorized language that the candidate thinks like, okay, get enrolled in is going to score me good marks in IELTS. And I'm saying at first, get enrolled in sounds a little bit inappropriate, but it's okay. And now I've heard it 3 times. I'm thinking, okay, this candidate's relying too much on this little expression, and we just don't need it.
school, we spent 5 years there by going
Coherence is kind of strange. Now I'm thinking, well, when did you become friends? In school or after school? Because you told me like after you completed school, then you like had a good friendship, or you made a good friendship. But now you're talking about like since you got enrolled in school, you've been good friends. And so some of your ideas kind of contradict the other ones.
somewhere like some visiting places which are common in our country, as well as sometimes
We visit places that are common in our country. Again, there's a lack of detail.
when we get together in the afternoon, we plan to play football. Because
Again, when we get together, we plan to play football. That's a weird thing, right? When we get together, we plan to play football. We don't play football. We just plan to play foot. I just seems, I don't know. It's a bit strange.
we love playing football in the afternoon time. That
Again, bit of repetition of idea or reformulation. Okay.
keeps us fit, and it gives us energy to help and to uh, get the pleasant moment
Again, we're back to pleasant moment. There's a bit of repetitive vocab.
for our life. On top of that, uh, he is
I really like this use of on top of that. It's good.
doing great things for me. Like whenever I need some assistance from him, like taking some notes about my studies, as he is my study mate. We are studying also at our university.
So yeah, again, work is just slightly illogically organized. Oh, we get assistance like at university because he's my study mate because we are studying at university, and it's like, well, why don't you put that first? And then yeah, so work is slightly illogically organized.
That I mentioned, and that is
Okay, thank you. Yeah, towards the end, I mean, it just seems like the candidates lost a little bit of focus, and this is normal for B2 candidates. Always, not always, usually B1 candidates kind of run out of steam after about 30 seconds or 40 seconds, and then they start randomly producing. This candidate kind of had that breakdown after about maybe 1 minute 30. I don't know if there was like a clear overall progression in this. I mean, kind of was. He spoke about how they met, and then he spoke about some things that they do together. I didn't really see any development of that question, like why the friendship is important. Yeah, again, very similar to part one, some attempts at complex grammar with mixed success, kind of what we'd expect from B2s. A little bit of success with complex grammar. Again, we would expect B2s to do that. Pronunciation is clear but lacks, natural intonation and flow. Vocab is all right, but too much effort to use this get enrolled in, and then we're back to pleasant moments. And yeah, there is a noticeable reliance on repeated bits of vocab.
yeah.
So you've been talking about a close friend you have. Let's talk about friends and friendships now. Why are friendships important in people's lives?
I think friendship is crucial to have
Cool, nice synonym there of like important, crucial.
in life, because when you have one good friend, you are going to share your problems with them. Whenever you are sharing your problems with them, they are going to give you some tactics how to uh, how to get through those problems.
Well, I think the candidate is developing and the answers are, it's really on topic here. And I think, this is a good example of a clear answer to a question. It is noticeable a little bit that the candidate's fluency is breaking down, but, he's doing all right.
Whatever I come across, as well as when you want to go somewhere, you need someone to give
Yeah, again, problems with that as well as I would recommend, candidates should think about a different construction instead of as well as, if in doubt, just use and. No.
company with. So these are the things we do with our best friend or with a good friend.
And what qualities do you think are important in a friend?
I believe
Again, that believe sounds like believe. I believe. Just notice again problems with the but and the the.
I believe
I believe. Yeah.
the loyalty is
Loyalty, not loyalty, but loyalty. But okay.
the best thing for in terms of making good friends.
Love that in terms of making good friends. Very nice.
Because if your friend is not loyal or is not someone
Good development with conditionals here. If your friend is not loyal, good.
who is not giving you the time, who is not taking
Well, who's not giving you time isn't about loyalty, is it?
care of you, like by saying hello, how are you in your worst time. So in this situation, you need one friend who is going to or who is going to care about you, or who is uh, uh, going to help you in your bad days.
Yeah, I don't know if we've had a full explanation of why loyalty is important, but there is an attempt. And how are friendships between adults different to friendships between children?
I think uh, if I talk about children, when they get friends, they
And they make friends, probably.
no, they play together at school, mostly because they don't get the time to hang around with their friends
Don't get the time is okay, don't have the time is probably better.
in the afternoon, because they're more. It is forbidden to play
Yeah, but let's not go too much off topic. You don't need to explain to me why they spend most of their time at school and why they don't have time to spend in the afternoon. We want to focus on the question, which is comparing friendships between children with friendships between adults, right? Oh, I think one obvious thing is the level of seriousness. Like kids usually play together, they play different sports and different games, whereas adults probably spend more time talking about serious things. That's a good, simple comparison.
outside alone, because they don't get their friends without school hours.
Candid is still talking about why children spend their time together at school.
While in the adult,
Cool. I love that while and then to compare and bring us to adults. That's really good cohesion, good linking there.
like the adult people who got a good friend or good friends, some good friends, they are having and spending time together anytime. Like they are mature and they are eligible to go anywhere without anyone's permission. So I
Yeah, I don't know if you're really getting into the heart of the difference. Kids friendships, they spend time together mostly at school, whereas adults, they are free to spend time with each other whenever they want. I don't, it is an answer to the question, it is on topic, but I don't know if it's a real meaningful comparison of child and adult friendships. Maybe for some people it is. For me, it feels just a little bit lacking in content.
think these are the differences between the younger friendships and adult.
And again, candidate pads now, and I think these are the differences. So notice the candidate's done this a couple of times. At the end of his answer, he tries to summarize with like a concluding statement. We don't need that. Sometimes, maybe in the long term, in part two, you might want to do that. If you feel like you've been talking about a particular question for a long time and you want to wrap it up, then some type of concluding statement might be okay. But we certainly don't need it for so many questions. And do you agree that friendships between adults are usually more serious than friendships among children? I'm trying to dig in a little bit deeper now on the nature of the friendships, not just the time and place where they can spend time, but trying to just dig in a bit deeper to see how the candidate does.
Yeah, of course, I totally agree with this because
I totally agree with this. Nice.
if you when you are adult, you have been friend for a long time.
You have been friends.
Like you were 40 or you were 35, then you have spent your time with your friend.
Okay.
So it has deepened your friendship bond.
It has deepened your friendship bond. So you can kind of see the delivery of this complex language. It has deepened your friendship bond. It's not coming out in a smooth flow, but decent vocab again, slightly heightened, slightly like obvious that candidate is trying to activate that language. It doesn't need to.
While when you are making some friends at school when you were child, like 6 or 7, or you are studying at primary school, you are going to forget them after some years. But it is like rare to have some friend who you studied with you at primary school and you have him at the 30 or 40 years old.
Cool. I think that's fair, and I think that is on topic. It does kind of connect to the question about the seriousness. Yeah. Okay. Let's talk about technology and friendships now. In what way has technology changed the way that we make new friends?
Uh, uh, what I think about technology, how technology makes our friendship easier or to interact with some new friends.
Okay. It's difficult to make out if that's an opinion or not. We changed the way that we make new friends. So, how has technology changed the way that we make new friends? How has it changed it?
Or uh, what I think about technology, how technology makes our friendship easier
What I think about technology, how technology makes our friendship easier. The question is, how, in what way has technology changed the way that we make new friends? Maybe nowadays, instead of making new friends in the pub or instead of making new friends at school or at university, maybe we find people in online communities who share the same interests as us. That might be one idea of how it's changed. How we make new friends.
or to interact with some new friends. I would say some social sites where we use Facebook
Okay, but how has Facebook changed the way that we make new friends?
and Instagram by using our mobile phone.
Okay, how has it changed the way that we make new friends?
So the some social sites help us to meet some new people,
Okay, yeah, that's true.
and this technology helps us to interact with new people that are going
Okay, but how does this technology help us to interact with new people?
to become our friend for a lifetime, maybe for some years, if it
But again, the problem is when it's still not getting to the heart of these questions.
is not going to last longer. I think, yeah, technology definitely helps us to make our friendship easier.
Okay, thank you. That is the end of the test. All right. So, candidate gave it a good shot. Candidate responded again, like I said at the end of part one. Candidate responds to questions. He seems to understand them. Sometimes he's a little bit off topic, but tries to speak at length. It does many positive features in his speech. But let's have a look at the marks that I'm going to give now. Fluency and coherence, I'm going to give a 6 for this, and I think I'll be giving a lot of 6s for this, maybe 6s across the board. So you develop, you answer, your answers are mostly on topic, and you show good willingness to speak at length. You attempt to use a wide range of connectives, but with limited success, I would say. You know, you don't always get that as well as exactly right. I need to make this font a bit smaller. I hope that's still visible. I don't think it is it? Let's make that bigger there. Yeah. But with limited success. Sometimes you seem to lose sight of the main idea behind the question. I think that's fair. Yeah, so fluency and coherence, 6, B2-ish. No, Candid doesn't ever seem like he's in like a great amount of difficulty or discomfort answering these questions. He can sit and answer lively enough, never feels like he's in pain or anything like that. So yeah, I think 6 is probably fair. Let's get to lexical resource. I'm gonna go again with the 6. Cool. I might need to make this font smaller. Sorry. Okay, so lexical resource 6. So you find relevant words to deal with the majority of the questions. At times, you have to repeat the same words like get enrolled, precious moment, as well as sometimes it is noticeable that you have to repeat the same words. Also, you appear, let's go with, yeah, it appears that you are trying too hard to heighten your language. This leaves a negative effect on the listener. IMO. So when I talk about heightening, I mean like trying to use like get enrolled in or try to engage myself in blah blah blah. We don't need all of this stuff. I think it is holding you back. Grammatical range and accuracy, surprise, surprise, but I'm going to award a 6. So you have this, or let's say despite quite a few mistakes with fairly basic grammar, your control over simple grammar is pretty good. You attempt some complex grammar with, let's say, mixed success. You know, sometimes you're trying to use that present perfect and it's good and it works. Sometimes you try to use it and it's like, you should really use past simple there. So, you know, you do have you do make attempts at some complex structures. In terms of like complex sentences, that's all fine. You're okay with the if stuff and the as well as stuff. Don't always get as well as right, but in terms of setting it up as a complex sentence, it's boring grammatical stuff. You're at band 6 for grammar. And pronunciation, I might, no, I'm going to go with band 6. Band 6 for pronunciation. I was thinking, you know, could an examiner give it 5? Maybe. I know some examiners are a little bit harsh with pronunciation in South Asia, but I think probably have enough for a 6. The most important thing with pronunciation, of course, is in general, it's pretty easy to understand most of the things that you say. Some words, some individual words, I would say, aren't understood. Like you say, I tried to delete my work. I don't know if you're saying delete or delete my work or something like that. There are a couple of examples where it's just like, I just don't know what the candidate said. Some individual words aren't pronounced correctly. And that can sometimes put a strain on the listener. You also have some limitations in your phonological range, especially with but and the. That's probably the most noticeable one. But and the. There are some problems with t and th and the and all of that stuff too. But you know, the ones that I can hear the most often are with but and the. So overall, you know, 6666. I don't even think I need to write what that is overall. Overall, that is a band 6. Let's put that, I don't know. Let's move this down a little bit. And let's put nice text box here just to say overall 6.0. Let's make that bigger. Wow. Cool. Ah, it's not visible. Sorry. Yeah, so overall 6.0. And then just thinking of some areas of improvement. Sorry, I'm all over the place with this board. Some areas of improvement. Again, I give this advice to so many people. Make sure that your answers directly respond to the questions. You have a tendency to drift off topic. You know, answer the question directly and then develop. Simplify. Again, same bits of advice over and over again. Simplify your ideas. They can be difficult to follow at times. Question, do you prefer to spend your weekends relaxing or doing active things? Instead of talking about, you know, enjoying every moment, let's just answer the question. I prefer to relax at the weekend. I spend a lot of time studying during the week, and I find this quite stressful. So when I have a day off, I like to stay at home and watch something on TV. Sometimes I watch nice American dramas, other times I watch sport. Cool, done, simple, easy, on topic, easy to follow. And then anything else? Yeah, maybe two more things. Either learn exactly how as well as works, because as well as is a tricky little customer. It's not as easy as you think it might be. As well as it has a number of different constructions, as well as something, as well as doing something, as well as somebody doing something, as well as this. There are, you know, it's quite a complicated, it's like in addition to, you know, because of or despite or in spite of. It has strange grammatical patterns. So either learn exactly how as well as works or find an alternative for it, because you often make mistakes with this item of vocabulary. And then finally, you don't need to heighten, or yeah, I would even say stop. Stop trying too hard to activate complex. And I'm going to put complex in italics there. Stop trying too hard to activate complex vocab. It doesn't make your language better. It really doesn't. It makes your language worse in most cases. When you're trying to use your difficult vocab, in most cases, I'm thinking, it doesn't work. It's not quite right. It's a bit odd. And that will, you know, could lower your score for vocab. But I still think you have enough for 6. So I'm sorry that my board is you know, the notes not always visible, but I hope that is visible. Yeah, what do we have there? That's fine. So in total, a score of 6.0. And I think that is, you know, candidate is B2. He's better than B1, I think. I don't think he's close really to C1. And I think, if he took the test today or tomorrow or even in the next 3 months, it's probably going to get a score of 6.0, maybe 6.5 on a very good day, but I don't think he will get the 7. Yeah, but those are just my thoughts. So let me know what you think. Am I too harsh? Am I too generous? Is there anything in my feedback that you disagree with? Yeah, let me know, but please do be polite. Yeah, good candidate, decent, solid B2, very nice guy. I enjoyed chatting with him. Please don't call me sir. Yeah, anyway, if you'd like to have your own free practice IELTS speaking test, or if you would like me to check your IELTS writing, then I get all of my candidates from my Telegram channel, Expert Examiner. There's a link to that channel in the description below. So if you want to take part, then you'll have to be part of that Telegram channel. Yeah, more videos coming soon, but for now, adios. Bye bye.